As I continue to work on my Genesis interpretations, I find things that I think are important. In this case, what I want to do is pass along a lesson that I think everybody could stand to use right now. If you're on a healing path and you get caught up in things, there's an instruction in here that has emerged that's very important, and I'd like to pass that along. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. Okay, this is very specifically an instruction to engage the higher awareness and to remain there at a particular time. Let me read the verse first that's in Genesis. I'll set it up. It's getting into Sodom, and what's happening here is that as the Sodom story unfolds, it's got some sin going on. It needs to be destroyed. And there's an analog farm that starts where Abraham is talking to God and starts asking him goofy things like, if there are 50 righteous in the city, would you destroy it for the sake of 50? And God says, no, if there are 50 righteous in the city, I will not destroy it for the sake of 50 righteous. So there's this numbering and righteous and dialogue thing going on that it becomes an analog farm. If you skip past that right there and go, Abraham remained with God, and then two men went to the city. What we're seeing unfolding here as we interpret this is the self-healing process. And at this stage in the process right here, we're going to be going in and doing some inner healing. However, what happens? We struggle with that, don't we? The habits, the things, the pain, whatever it is we are holding on to, we struggle to leave it. It's very difficult, and we get caught right back up into it. Okay, right here, this line right here, and the men turned their faces and went towards Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before the Lord. You see that? Abraham stood yet before the Lord. The Lord is what? The higher awareness. Abraham is your consciousness. As things are getting ready to go for a healing process, your consciousness needs to be engaging the higher awareness. Now, how we can apply this, and I don't want this video to get too long. You'd have to be familiar with my work, but I'm playing these out completely in the psyche as if they are components of something and analogous representations of something. Sodom is a part of my past. The two that are going into affect a change are new ideas going into to destroy this city, to destroy the evil, to destroy the past. The people that are coming to try and gain access to them, to corrupt them, represents the idea that I don't want to do this, what I have to do. I got to make changes. I got to make healing. I've got to turn inward, and I'm going to have a struggle. I'm going to struggle to leave the past. There's always a struggle built into these, and that's what is being represented here. However, knowing that that struggle is coming, what happens? The consciousness, Abraham, stays with the Lord, the higher awareness. Is like this. That's just the instruction. Now let's talk about the parts. What is the higher awareness, the conscious, the subconscious, the memories, all of this? We're struggling, living through our memories, and we want to engage the higher awareness where we are detached from the memories. How do we do that? That's only one step in the process, but this is a critical part. And right there, when Abraham remained with the Lord, that's what he's doing. He's keeping his conscious, that's the conscious remaining engaged with the higher awareness when a healing process has to happen, and it's going to be a struggle. Instead of just falling right back into old patterns, we're going to make sure to maintain our higher awareness in our consciousness. Okay, what are those things? I think we have to start with the consciousness, honestly. We can start anywhere. We come from a higher awareness, but we're not conscious of it yet anyway. So let's just go to the conscious. The conscious does what? This is what we're engaging with right now. We're learning, we're listening, we're processing, we're evaluating the quality of what we're listening to, the information. We're deciding what to do with it, how we feel about it, how we're going to act upon it, if at all. All of that stuff is happening in the conscious mind. As it evaluates that, it stores that. We become parts of that. It learns things. And in that process, the brain is growing. And in that growing process, it's developing what would be called the subconscious or the third eye. It is the bundle of memories that we live through and that we experience and judge life through. Right there. That is the third eye. That is also the eye that Jesus references that has the mote in it that needs to be removed. And this bundle of experiences is exactly what that mote is in Jesus' eye. For purity, what do? We let go of our judgments and all those things. It is something that you see through. You see through an eye. And in this case, we're not seeing the physical world through two physical eyes. We are seeing, metaphorically, the quality of our life through our perceptions, through the eyes, the taste, nose, ears, everything. All of those come together to create a place where we must evaluate all of those. And that is the third eye right there. But the third eye contains more than that. It also contains all of the memories, all the things that we stuff into there. When we evolved, we needed to remember some things. You don't ever forget that's a bad place. Now we got that same mechanism in place with a million bad things, and we never forget that bad thing. We need to forget that bad thing, all those bad things. They're not going to hurt us in the future. We are dragging them with us. We needed to remember that other stuff was dangerous, but now we've got something else going on. Okay, so the conscious is really in the driver's seat, except that it is either aware of that or in the beginning, it is completely unaware of that. We're just living life bouncing off the walls, evaluating what goes on, making judgment calls, and becoming products of that. When we're first born, we do come from a higher awareness, and we live through a higher awareness. This can be variable. If you come from a place where you were an unwanted child, you may not have this experience. I'm going to describe something that is what the material is getting to. The material is getting to the idea that in a childhood state, before we began to experience life, that we were happy and joyful, that we just had good things. We played, we laughed, we giggled, we didn't judge anything. But, life was okay. If, as long as we're fed and happy, everything was okay. We didn't judge. That was a good place to be. And at that time, we were living through our higher awareness, except we had no mental cognition of that. We're too little. You look back on your life, how long before you even remember things? It takes a while before we develop enough in the mind to even have cohesive memories that we can start putting together. And some of those get mixed up and blended, and we swear we're right, and it's like, well, it actually wasn't exactly like that. Okay, so the brain can do some weird things when it's wiring that way. So what happens then is we begin to experience life. And as we are experiencing life from that, as we leave that childhood place and begin to have emotional, I see something hurt now. That didn't feel good. That made me ashamed. This makes me angry. Oh, I'm embarrassed about that. We're beginning to do and experience things in life that is creating a bundle of memories that we're going to be living through. And that's a necessary part of life. We're going to go from the higher awareness. We're going to live through life's physical experiences to the point that we go, I've had enough of this now, I'm ready to heal. Then what we need to do is understand that we need to get, now that we're aware of it, go back to that higher awareness to live. It existed before the memories. So you observe it in this way. Here's how you find your own. Everybody has this. You will probably see it at night when you're sleeping. If you wake up frazzled in 3, 4 in the morning, something like that. And something is going through your head that's a current turmoil, something that is either in the past unresolved or something currently going on. It's probably going to be the biggest issue that you have in your life that is your problem at that time, is what you're going to wake up from. So you want to know what to do? The world somewhere out there is telling us what to do. What is haunting you? That's what you got to fix. But as we're sitting there, we're going through this dialogue, and what we're doing, the consciousness is experiencing the memories. The memories, the fear, all of that stuff are going back and forth. So our consciousness, unaware at that time, is living through the memories, the fears, the confusion, the conflict, all of that stuff. But every once in a while, you'll notice a voice that comes in that just looks at the whole thing. It's in your head. It is in your head, but it goes, hey, there's nothing you can do tonight. You got to just go to sleep. Try to deal with it tomorrow. That part right there, you listen to it and go, we let it go. That's the higher awareness trying to engage. But stop and feel that. When that comes and says that, you will notice that you don't feel the emotions. Stop right there. When that's happening, instead of going, oh yeah, that's not going to happen, and allowing yourself to just get sucked right back into the bad feelings, stop and engage with that higher awareness. Stop and use your consciousness. Your consciousness has to pull it in. It's there, but your consciousness is going to drift around. It's unaware. It's going to just drift all over where it gets taken. Aware, you can start going, okay, I'm getting sucked into those memories. I'm going to stop and I'm going to engage with the higher awareness up here. I'm going to stop feeling that. Those things still have to be resolved, but it's an important first step to understand that higher awareness is there and to begin to engage with it. It's going to have to get, the connection that we have with it is going to have to get stronger. It is already strong. It's everything it needs to be. We are the ones that have to grow to understand how to engage with it and to employ it. At some point, we're going to be bringing that higher awareness and the memory simultaneously into our consciousness to affect this blending healing process. But what this is teaching us right here is that as we're getting ready to go to this is Sodom, this is us, something inside of us, there's conflict, there's something that's going to affect the healing. But meanwhile, we've got people from the city coming in wanting to destroy that. This is inside of us. This is a conflict. I'm going to resolve something. No, you're not. I've got fears. I'm going to give in at the end. That's what's going on. And what this is teaching us is when that is going to happen right there, to stop and don't give in to the feelings. Abram stayed with the Lord. Keep your mind engaged with the higher awareness at that time. Continue to look at it from a detached perspective. But we have to practice getting there. You've got to make this your own, though. You go through this and you interpret it and you go, okay, now this is me. How does it apply to my life? You've got another shift to make. Now you've got to take that lesson and say, what is happening in my day-to-day existence? What are the issues that I have? What are the conflict with who, with what, these things that trigger? And if they do, you're going to notice, you sit back and look at them and go, yep, it's cyclical, isn't it? And it's caused by something there, isn't it? So if I'm having this regular conflict that I see that I'm always engaged with, and the other person's not going to get out of it, this is going to go on forever. Somebody's got to do something or it's not going to change. That it's at those times when that's beginning to happen that you go, okay, I'm not getting sucked into it. I need to engage my higher awareness. This conflict with this individual or this situation, again, make it yours. Only then does it become real. Anyway, I wanted to say that is definitely in the material upon interpretation. It does have to be interpreted. I am going to be an advocate for the idea that everything in Genesis, in fact, everything in the entire Bible, 100% of it needs to be interpreted. It's written that way. It is not a history book. It is not a history book. Yeah, there's something else going on there. People should know that just by looking at it. Genesis, people living 900 years, 800, 700, come on. Start processing some things. There's something going on in here that it's an inward path. It needs to be interpreted to be engaged with. If you don't engage with it, you just carry it or you deny it. In the meantime, there's lessons in here if we know how to extract them. Some good ones that I struggle to find these elsewhere. I've never found anywhere else that told me to do that. There probably is someplace. There is a process in here that clearly, as I stated it, when you experience that, you start getting caught up. You're catching yourself. Uh-oh, I'm going down this path again. I don't want it. I'm getting sucked into it. Know at that time when you're getting into that, go, oh, higher awareness. Get to here. Bring this in. Look at it from a detached perspective. Whatever that takes. Keep practicing that, practicing that, practicing that. Have a dialogue between your higher awareness and your consciousness. Engage this instead of continually engaging the lower one. Engage the higher conversation. It's not going to instantly make changes, but we have to start transitioning from a really practiced bad place to practicing a different and a better place. The material goes over and over again. People that are doing this flash in the pan fix, do a meditation, boom, this opens and that cleared. Yeah. When you're ready for the real understanding, this is what's in the material. Okay. Hope this was helpful. If you yourself are running into issues like that, and I do, I use this all the time. I use this process. I see it here, but I've also learned to use it. It's just kind of accidental. But as you're getting caught up into those processes, you just stop and go, oh, here it is again. I'm going into that little loop. Step out of it. Get to the higher awareness. You keep doing that and doing that and doing that until you just finally go, whew, boy, I'm done going in there. I'm not getting sucked back into it. But at first, it's going to be opposite. Boy, it's hard to get out. At some point, if you keep at it, it's going to be easier and easier. So that's all I can say. The brain wires, but it's organic. You can't just load a new program. It takes a while. You got to practice at it. You got to put in a new book of beliefs, a new thing that you must really practice and believe and meditate on something that you want instead and focus on it. This is not a flash in the pan. They weren't doing anything flash in the pan back then like people today are. Okay, they were doing some real solid functional work. And in my own life, that's the way it was. There could be, I'm not going to say it's the same for everybody. There's people that have brain types that can just say, yeah, I did all that stuff too, but I don't care. Who cares? I'm a person that goes, man, I did some of that stuff and things happen and I do care and I have a problem with it and it makes me feel bad, so I have to do something to rectify it. If you're the person that's that way, this is how you do it. If you're not, you let it go. There are layers to this. But at the deepest layer, it is exactly this self-healing process. It's you. There's ones that illustrate the same thing, like in the Buddha, this whole thought process. And Buddha teaches us that we're mental constructs of our experiences and the way we judge them. If a man's thoughts are not dissipated, if his mind is not perplexed, if he has ceased to think of good or evil, then there is no fear for him while he is watchful. These are tricky because these are like double negatives almost. It's like, well, that's kind of, you have to unwrap it. What does that even mean? If a man's thoughts are not dissipated, what you want is your thoughts to not be all scrambled. You want them gone. Mind not perplexed. You don't want your mind in turmoil. You want a peaceful mind. So if your thoughts are gone and your mind is peaceful and you cease to see things as good or bad, then there is no fear in you. You don't feel the anxiety of life while you are watchful, while you're paying attention to it. So you have to interpret these, but it's getting to the same thing that we have to establish some control over our minds. And that's difficult because we get driven by emotions. All right. That's it. That's the advice here. Engage the higher awareness. Learn what it is. Practice it. Use it whenever you can and make sure that it gets top billing. Work towards making it. That's what you want to live through. When this massive hurtful stuff is gone, you're naturally living up through here again. Right now, where we're caught in the experiences, we're living through those and in the way that we're emotionally caught up in them. If we can get rid of the emotional connection, we no longer live through them that way. That's what makes it so damn hard. You have to forgive people that have hurt you sometimes really bad. But it's not about them. It's about you. It is about what you're holding up here that is causing a continuation of the hurt in your life. So somehow you have to extract your physical self from that and become the higher awareness, the higher consciousness self that knows that you're here because you're having a physical experience. You have to come through somewhere in order to get here. We emerge and you have to go through that life experience before you learn what life is about and then how to extract from it. So we're all on a path that's similar. It can be hurtful and hard to get around. And the emotions are over the top. We're afraid of our own shame, pain, hurt. And we give it its power. The harder we hate it, the stronger it becomes. That's what becomes difficult, to turn away from that and to bring it the other way, to dissipate it, is what has to happen. Hating it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. We have to do something different. It's so tough to do. Okay, I hope this is helpful. If you catch yourself in that, just keep moving to it. And if you're in a place where it's like, oh, this is going to happen and the other person is not going to let it go, extract yourself from it. Get out, get away from it. Go be somewhere where you're going to be experiencing simultaneously at that time. In an unskilled manner, you're going to be trying to engage the higher awareness while you're feeling like, oh, damn it, I'll turn around and wait a minute, I got something to say after all. You got to know all that's going to happen and go, I'm not going to let that win. They're both going to be trying to, the emotions are going to be what's playing out. The consciousness is the one that allows whoever's in charge. So the consciousness has to be the one that knows what's going on and make a different decision when that's happening. Oop, here it is again. I'm getting out and I'm not letting it win, and I'm not going to let it list and go all over the damn place. I'm taking charge of my life experiences by taking charge of my thinking, knowing that up front it's going to be damn hard, but I better keep at it. Okay. Makes sense? That's weird. That's Genesis. I'll see you in that video.